What up? And welcome to the 6th episode of the Norwalk Film Festival Podcast. I'm Sean Fox, one of the volunteer board members of the festival. Thanks for joining me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or if you're watching on YouTube. This is an interview series to help share the stories of our festival's filmmakers before our festival so that you can get to know them a bit before seeing the films in person. It's also a way for me to find 10 different ways to say welcome and hello at the top of each episode. And we're on the 6th, and I'm running out of ideas, and that's why I said, what up? So, anyway, today's interview is with writer-director Mitry. His film, The Hedgehog, is a film based in Ukraine. As the war starts in Ukraine, 6-year-old Nina is sent to her grandmother's remote village. In the shack outside her house, Nina discovers a badly wounded Russian soldier. The Hedgehog is part of our international film block at the festival, and we have 2 full days of programming for you with screenings at the historic Wall Street Theater, hosting mixers and panels at the Norwalk Public Library, and an opening night party at the 314 Beer Garden in South Norwalk, Friday night the 19th, to get things started. It's an honor to be screening The Hedgehog, which has screened at festivals internationally and won a bunch of awards along the way. I hope you can come out to see it on the big screen. To hear more about The Hedgehog in the director's own words, here's my interview with Mitry. We are here with Mitry, the writer and director of The Hedgehog, which will be part of the foreign language block at the Norwalk Film Festival. Mitry, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
Yeah. All right, before we hop into talking about The Hedgehog itself, tell us a little bit about your past. You started as a playwright, is that correct?
Well, yes. I went to school at the State University of New York at Albany, and I did major in English and theater, and I did wanted to get into playwriting, and in fact, the first full-length play that I wrote, The Last Communist Trio, did premiere, in fact, in Connecticut, in Waterford, Connecticut, at the Eugene O'Neill National Playwrights Conference.
Oh, that's great. So what inspired your switch from playwriting into screenwriting and creating and making movies?
I think the short answer it is life.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually didn't get to make my first film until I turned 40. So I took a little detour of about 17 years from the moment I had my play at 23 produced. And then at 40, I dove into filmmaking, and that's when I made my first short.
Oh, wow. Do you think having that gap, gave you some experience, like gave you the confidence or use some of those skills in then moving into filmmaking?
Well, I hope so. I certainly feel that it gave me some life experiences because I literally had a different life prior to delving into filmmaking. Got
it. Okay. So you've done, this is your 5th short, and then you've also done a feature film. Both your last 2 have had very personal connections, but what are your steps from when you have an idea to then putting that on the page?
Oh, it's, filmmaking is a journey, as you know, and it really does take a lot of people, a lot of things to go right, from the concept all the way to completion of the film. And it's just, I guess part of it, perseverance, and part of it being very lucky, surrounding myself with really, really talented people.
Yeah, I mean, perseverance is definitely the key in anything. You work so hard, you got your ideas that and you make something that you love, and then you really got to have your heart behind it to really put everything into making it happen and stuff. And it can be a tough journey for sure.
100%.
So getting into The Hedgehog, it's about the still ongoing war in the Ukraine. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about your history? You were born in the USSR, correct?
Indeed. I was born in Belarus, in Minsk. Back then, when I was born, it was still USSR. And in fact, our common language was Russian. So, in fact, I consider that my first language that I do speak still with no accent is Russian. And of course, because I was born in Belarus, I'm able to communicate in Belarusian, or Belarus as they call it now.
Yeah.
And Ukrainian being an adjacent republic or now country. Also, the similarity in the languages allows me to also understand and speak Ukrainian as well.
Got it. So this story uses a young girl, Nina, as our main viewpoint throughout the story. Was having a main character who's, she might not fully understand what's happening around her, was that a deliberate choice, or, how do you felt that moved your story forward?
I would have to say that I guess that's how algorithmically the universe came out, with something that I wanted to reflect from myself, because I consider myself to be an American. I've been in America for a very long time. When something, I don't even know what the right word to use, something heinous like this happens, I have certain ideas why this happened, and there's certain things we see in the media, and of course, speaking so many different languages, Ukrainian, Russian, Belarus, I'm able to hear the hypothesis of what started this war. And I couldn't understand why overnight people that were brothers and sisters all of a sudden started hating each other. And this crazy conflict happened. And I guess that was my way of dealing with it, with this rather delicate situation. And I thought, what would be the better way of introducing this delicate conflict, but with the voice of a 6-year-old girl?
Yeah, because it comes down to that, she's seeing him as a person versus a Russian soldier. She understands that he's Russian, but that you kind of see that struggle within her. She's asking, is it bad, or is he bad? And that's, seeing the innocence of a child it was very interesting and, heartfelt watching her go through that, and especially at the climax of the film. And I would say an increasingly important message. We're becoming, through so many divided times, everything, everybody's on one side or the other no matter what. So anyway, short aside, but yeah. So it is a very beautiful film, visually as well. And you shot in Maryland, is that right? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Ocean City.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about putting together the look of your film, working with your DP, Mark David, and the production designer, Deidre Catero. How did you work with them to make all these visuals come to life?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the most difficult things, of course, was to recreate Ukraine in Maryland. And it's a daunting task because you want things to look very authentic. And it requires, as you succinctly put it, a very good eye, which is an incredible director of photography, and it requires also an eye of a production designer. I've never worked with Deidre, who was our production designer, and this was our first collaboration, and we just hit it off from the first time we had a conversation over the phone. And Deidre has worked on several bigger projects for bigger studios, and the script really spoke to her, and we just hit it off, and she knew exactly what I was looking for, because I was able a little bit to send her visual boards and send her some references of what I thought the Ukrainian village would look like, or what I remember it to be.
Oh, okay.
And Mark has done over 53 features at that time.
Oh, no big deal. Just
yeah. And we've always wanted to work together. We used to live in Los Angeles, and this was a perfect opportunity. I sent him the script, and he says, I want to be part of this. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It takes a village to put these kind of things together. Especially one other thing that I really liked, or stood out to me, was the score and the composition from it too. It's just that, it was nothing overly bombastic, but just really set the mood. What was it like working with your composer on that? Like, is that the music you always kind of envisioned when you were writing it and putting it together, or how did you guys arrive to work on that?
That's actually a very interesting story, because I I'm a composer myself.
Oh, really?
For the first couple of films, I had to write music myself because nobody would do it for me. Kind of a lot of things you have to do for the first couple of films yourself. But when I did a feature, when I had a Hollywood composer, I realized that these guys are so much better than me. and again, this was also a stroke of luck. I was introduced to Ali Hellenwein, and normally I ask an editor or composer before we even get involved with the project to read the script. And Ali read the script, and he absolutely loved the script. And he says, "Well, how do you see the score?" And I remember telling him just one word: "I see it as being invisible." And precisely, Ali, I don't know how with the budget that we had, but he went out and he did actually a live scoring of this.
Oh, no way! Wow.
Yes.
That's great. Wow, that's really great. I mean, it really comes through. It's a lovely little piece that, yeah, as you said, like it doesn't stand out. It's not like in your face, but it really just helps set that mood and makes but you still feel it throughout the whole film. So that's great. So the film has had a pretty good festival run so far. Being all over the world, all over the States. How's that journey been for you?
Well, it's always a sort of cat in the bag of when you let the film out into the world, and you don't know how the world is going to take it. And we've been very, very fortunate. In fact, we have qualified it with the Academy for submission for the Oscars for a short life film.
Yeah,
and it's just been sensational, absolutely sensational. Have we had any negative reactions? Of course, absolutely. You always do, but
right.
For the most part of it, we've been very, very lucky, and we've screened at some of the biggest venues in the world.
That's great. I mean, hey, even the negative responses, it means people are watching and people are getting a reaction out of it. So I think that's still, it's not not a no news is good news, but any press is good press. But it's just the fact that you're just getting your film out there for people to see is great.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as far as being negative, it's more so it's a little bit of a controversial nature, and
sure,
I'm sure you could see how that could go, because it's the film is pro-Ukrainian, but it's not anti-Russian, and I wanted this to come through.
Yeah, I think it definitely does, and it's something that it's this tough balance to strike. Giving that humanity to quote the bad guy in something is tough to do, and I thought you did a great job of balancing that line and giving a humanity to the Russian soldier in it. So I applaud you for that. The festival run for this, how has it been different, and have you learned anything from your past films that you've done?
It's always very, very humbling. I believe for every filmmaker, it should be every film he or she makes, it should always be a humbling experience, because you learn something new, and in your next one, you want to get those things that didn't go so well in the film that you made better in the next one, and it's almost like becomes an eternal eternal student of the art, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to learn from your mistakes, or just what how to do things differently on the next one, or else you're not going to get any better, right? And that's whole. Exactly right. Yeah, you have to use those building blocks to keep getting better and better. So, all right, you've wrapping up this project, and what are you working on next, or what do you got in the pipeline, if you can speak to any of it, I guess?
Absolutely. We just wrapped a pilot for a comedic TV series
great.
called Fine Flick Film Fest. In fact, it's about film festivals and what happens behind the scenes of creating a major film festival when things go wrong, and the festival winds up being in the hands of somebody who's never run the festival.
Oh, wow. All right. That sounds fun. Is it is like a 30-minute? Like...
It's exactly 30 minutes, and it's a complete 180-degree different from the Hedgehog.
I was going to say, that's... well, yeah, sounds a lot different than a story about a young girl in wartime in Ukraine. That's...
Yes.
But hey, that's great. And then lastly, just if you haven't already, what would be your dream project to work on, or somebody that you would love to work with who, is in the industry?
Oh my God, it's I have a huge list of people I'd love to work with.
Of course, yeah.
And the dream project, I have to confess that I don't think I have a dream project.
Okay, yeah.
But I have strong desire to work on things that are metaphysical and very spiritual oriented things, and that they speak to me quite a bit. And normally I allow the projects to kind of come, and I try to feel them. And because as a director, and most of the time still as a writer, I believe that if I cannot feel them and filter them 100%, I will not be able to do justice to them and have the audiences feel them. And so ultimately, it's very important for any type of projects that I take, that I completely feel it, and then I would be able to translate it to the screen, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for taking time to join me tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks again to Mitry for joining me. The Hedgehog plus 60 others are part of a great lineup at our festival this year, so come out to the Wall Street Theater January 20th and 21st to see it, along with all of our other films, and come to the 314 Beer Garden Friday night, the 19th, to mix and mingle. Visit our website, norwalkfilmfestival.org, for all ticketing info, schedules, and any other info you could want on the festival. We are an entirely volunteer-run organization, and we couldn't do it without you. So please help us spread the word by following us on all of our social media platforms at the handle @Norwalk Film Festival. There you'll get all the up-to-date details on everything happening with the festival, and you'll be able to easily share with all your friends and invite them down to Norwalk January 19th through the 21st. Thanks for listening, and look forward to seeing you in Norwalk.